In this video, I'm going to introduce some minor blues by looking at a very famous piece of music called St. James Infirmary Blues, which is a traditional New Orleans blues, originally based on an English folk song. But there we go. Before we talk about the structure and how it works and what I'm doing with it, I'm going to play it through a couple of times so you can kind of get a sense of how the whole thing feels. I'm not going to play the melody, I'm just going to improvise around the chord sequence. By the way, if you want to see the chord sequence, I'm going to break it down in a second in the video, but I've included it in the post on Blues Piano TV where this video is embedded. If you're watching a video somewhere else, here's that page, so you can head over there and look at the chord sequence as I play if you want to. Okay, here we go, St. James Infirmary Blues. Okay, there we go. Quite a lot of interesting stuff there. For a start, you can see that St. James isn't based on a traditional 12-bar sequence. Nothing like. Let's just have a look at the chord structure and have a listen to it and see how it sticks together. Obviously, as you have probably noticed, the whole thing is in the key of D minor. Okay, it's got an identifiable key. It's not like a lot of other blues, like a lot of 12-bar, where it's sometimes difficult to say whether it's major or minor because of the amount of blue notes you're playing. This is very clearly a minor blues. Okay, we're starting on D minor, going to the dominant, which is A7, back to D minor, to B flat 7. Lovely bluesy sound there. To D minor, B flat 7. A7, of course it's a dominant, it wants to resolve back onto D minor. A7, D minor, and then a really lovely B flat major 7 to B flat minor 7, A7, and back to D minor. Okay, so a very kind of rich and lush chord sequence. Essentially all I was doing was playing that chord sequence. I varied the left hands I was using, but none of them were really difficult. So you could start off just playing the block chords. I'm playing improvisations over the top based on an adapted blues scale. Now, if you've seen my video about blues scale in the blues basics section, if you haven't seen it, head over to the episode index, here's the address, go and check it out. If you've seen that video on the blues scale, you'll know that I've talked about the traditional blues scale in terms of having 10 notes. Okay, the blues scale I'm using here for this minor piece is, I guess you call it an adapted blues scale. Taking the white notes between the two Ds, okay, I am generally missing out the B, okay, that's not being played, and I'm adding an A flat and a B flat. Sometimes, but not always, I'm adding an E flat as well. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. But the basic scale I'm using looks like that. Okay, so all of the white notes between the two Ds, minus the B, and with an A flat and a B flat added. Sometimes I'm adding an E flat, but that E flat won't sound right against all chords. Let me demonstrate. That's a D minor chord. That E flat doesn't sound too bluesy. Okay, so against the D minor chord, I'd usually play an E natural. Okay, if I'm playing my A7 chord, that E flat can work. So I am dropping it in, but not too much. More often I'm using it as a crush note onto the E, natural, okay? That's quite a nice effect. See how the B doesn't work there? Good example of a place where an E flat did work. Doesn't really work there, interestingly, against that unusual, well, for the song, B flat major 7 chord. Okay, so a slightly adapted blues scale, and as I say, all I'm doing over the top is just improvising. One of the lovely things about this song, you can take it really slowly and just play it a little bit at a time. One of the ways I'd recommend doing it is get your head kind of away around that scale is working in the right, and just play some basic improvisations over the chords in the left hand. Okay, you can use the technique we talk about in the blues basics section, which is just to start off with a couple of notes or 3 notes. Maybe you could start off with D, F and A flat. Wrong chord. Okay, so using the method we talk about in the blues basics section, just build up the notes in the scale. Okay, the left hand's quite interesting. As you'll see, what I'm not doing, there's no sort of sense of a pattern bass there. Pattern basses tend not to work quite as well with minors. Okay, if you try doing this, you hit that B, which doesn't work. You know, that's a classic major blues scale, but we're going to the minor, not quite right. You can go up to the 7th with a walking with a pattern bass like that, but it doesn't really sound right. Much better to stick with your block chords. The other one you can use, of course, is the classic stride bass, where you play the root note of the chord down the bottom here in this octave, and a shot at a triad or something similar up here, so like this. To B flat, there we go, D, B flat 7, A, middle run down, and D minor. A7, D minor, B flat major 7, lovely, B flat 7, A7, back to D minor. Okay. Another thing to listen out for is the way I'm using the piano, the pedal to stick things together a little bit. Let's pedal down, up. Don't overuse it, just use it to stick things together. And remember that you can get quite cool effects, as we saw in the stride, without using any pedal at all. Quite harsh and strident. Okay, so quite a few interesting things to think about there. Playing this kind of thing is getting a little bit far removed, a little bit out of the comfort zone of 12 bar. So it's maybe a good idea if you're just starting out to learn some 12 bar first, but kind of experiment with this. As I say, check out the chord sequence, which I have included in the original post over at Blues TV. bluespiano.tv. Here's the address. Go and look at it there. If you're not sure about what the particular chords are, if you visit the Piano World chord tool, which is always a great bet for finding out that kind of thing, it will be a great help. And just play around, experiment. If you get stuck, if you've got any questions, stick a comment either in the comment thread on YouTube or on the original post over at bluespiano.tv, and I will come straight back to you and do my best to help you. Okay, thanks very much for watching.